On Tuesday and Wednesday, June 25th and June 26th, the Texas Department of Public Safety, Criminal Investigations Division, in collaboration with the Abilene Police Department Cyber Crimes Unit, conducted an undercover operation targeting individuals attempting to take advantage of minors for sexual exploitation purposes within Abilene and the surrounding areas. Chief Standridge will be providing more information on this operation.
Thank you, sir. Well, good morning. My name is Stan Standridge. I serve as a police chief here in Abilene. So in 2016, the Abilene Police Department created the Cyber Crimes Unit. It is staffed by 2 full-time detectives plus a detective sergeant. This week, they conducted their 4th undercover sting, this time teaming up with the Department of Public Safety's Criminal Investigations Division. I was contacted recently by Lieutenant Janet Nichols, who oversees DPS CID, and asked if we wanted to participate in this sting operation, and the answer was an obvious yes. Ultimately, DPS CID was able to get these agencies involved, and we all worked together throughout these 2+ days. So we worked with Texas Highway Patrol, Thai Police, Merkel Police, DICE Office of Special Investigations, and the U.S. Marshal's Office, and obviously the DPS CID. So, as the trooper alleged, we have worked on this Tuesday and Wednesday of this week with some follow-up that was done again yesterday. And basically everyone assisted with social media chats. And it did not take long before 13 people committed criminal offenses by communicating online with who they believed was a minor child for sexual purposes. They then committed an overt act by arranging a meet for the purpose of committing sexual acts with a minor child. All 13 were subsequently interviewed by DPS CID and Abilene Cyber Crimes and were arrested. Charges range from, and there's quite a few, so bear with me. And not everybody was charged with these offenses, but this is a sample of the offenses that have been occurring over just this week. Online solicitation of a minor, prostitution, soliciting a person under 18 years of age, possession of controlled substance, sexual performance by a child, and countless online solicitation by minors. Interestingly, while interviewing them, we learned multiple suspects had committed contact offenses to include sexual assault or indecency with the child. So, in other words, what I'm telling you is, not only have they committed their crimes this week, but we found examples and evidence of previous crimes, which is why this is incredibly important when your law enforcement community comes together and sows into the safety of this community and basically protects our most vulnerable, our children. Now, 10 out of the 13 are from Abilene. 1 is from Sweetwater, 1 is from Winters, and 1 is from Garland. Now, some are going to ask, why is all of this occurring in Abilene? What is wrong with our city? My answer is twofold. First and foremost, we possess the willingness as a law enforcement community to say, not here. Secondly, we possess the technology to make these type of investigations possible. Now, with that said, we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. So, I would submit to you that too many people are willing to prey on our children. Just in 2 days, we netted 13 arrests. So imagine what's occurring all the other days of the week. So the Abilene Police Department and DPS CID, again, Criminal Investigations Division, will be hosting a community conversation on Thursday, August 8th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Southern Hills Church of Christ, located at 3666 Buffalo Gap Road. This isn't unique to Southern Hills. Chaplain Beth reached out to Pastor Jared to ask, would you be willing to host this as the venue? You all know that your law enforcement community has worked closely with our churches because we need our churches discussing these issues from the pulpit. And so we've been working through child abuse, we've been working through domestic violence, and this conversation is going to be specific to protecting our children from online exploitation. So we will teach parents, educators, business owners, nonprofits, whoever shows up. This will be a public meeting. We need only adults in the room. I believe the chapel can easily seat at least 1,000 people. I would submit to you that that church needs to be full on August 8th. It's an open invitation from us and from DPS CID. So please consider yourself invited. I can't answer a lot of questions, especially as it relates to tradecraft, but if you have any more generic questions, we can try to answer them.
The fact that you arrested 13 people in just 2 days, what does that tell you? I mean, what kind of rampant problem is it?
The question was, the fact that we arrested 13 in just 2 days, what does that tell you? How rampant is this problem? I would tell you that with the advent of social media, it's incredibly easy to exploit our children online. And just from my own personal interaction with parents, many of the parents will say, I have no idea how to monitor what my child is doing on social media because I don't even understand it myself. That's the purpose of that community conversation. We need to bridge the gap between what we parents know and what our kids know. Because there has proven to be far too many people who are willing to prey on our children. And what we are saying is enough. But again, we can't arrest our way out of this problem. We've got to enlist the help of the parents, the nonprofits, churches, everybody.
The age-old question, is this happening more, or are you just arresting more? What do you think?
That's a good question. The question was, is this happening more? Are we arresting more? It goes back to, first and foremost, we established the Cyber Crimes Unit in 2016. This was one of the express purposes. So now we have the dedicated personnel and the dedicated technology, partnering with DPS CID. So now we basically have more robust services. And so our footprint is out there, so to speak. So you're going to see, we're going to continue to make arrests as long as offenders are continuing to exploit our children.
What do parents need to do, Chief?
What do parents need to do? They need to come to this community meeting. I would love to see that the sanctuary is completely full so that we could have to record the meeting and ultimately make it available. Now, having said that, somebody's going to say, well, if it's going to be recorded, I'm not going to show up. No, please come. Please ask your questions. We will have staff there who can answer these very technical questions. It won't be me. I don't even understand how to do all this stuff. Our Cyber Crimes Unit is overseen by Sergeant Jason Hack. He and his team are phenomenal. Lieutenant Janet Nichols works with DPS CID. She oversees DPS's efforts. So the experts will be in the church answering your questions.
Chief, you talked about hardware we can't get into, like you said, the means, but you mentioned something about social media chats. Is that how this began, as far as sending a hook out there, and then of course the illicit conversations, and also the arrests? Was there actual meeting points where there were meetings arranged, and that's when you were able to make arrests?
So John's question was, I mentioned social media chats. So is that how these offenses were ultimately committed? I'm going to leave my answer very generic because I don't want to necessarily disclose our tradecraft. I'll just simply tell you that it's being done through social media apps. The exploitation occurs, and then ultimately another overt act where they try to arrange for the meeting. Now, obviously, these 13 were arrested. So I can't really give you much more detail, John. I'm going to have to leave it that generic.
Well, I assume, Chief, and again, just so I can clarify, was there a point where you met in a place, and at that point you made the arrest because they were actually following through on their texts and their chats?
So John's question was, I related that there was an overt act where they arranged a meeting for the purposes of committing sexual acts with an underage child. Did an actual meeting get staged? The answer is yes. And ultimately they were met with us, as they should be.
Hey, Chief, people are asking, it's a question that we've heard a lot. These guys get arrested and they get a slap on the wrist. What's police's part in that?
Are we filing these federal, Jason, or state? Seeking federal. All right, so that's a really good question, Rick. The question was, these offenders are going to get slapped on the wrist, and so we're spending a remarkable amount of investigative time for them ultimately to be probated. We are seeking federal prosecution for these offenders because ultimately if they are federally prosecuted, then the incarceration has a much stiffer penalty. So I can tell you that that's what our intent. But I also know the heart of our district attorney. Our district attorney, Jim Hicks, is absolutely committed to prosecuting these criminal offenses. So I don't think you're going to look at anybody getting a slap on the wrist for this. This is dangerous because keep in mind, if they weren't met with us, they would have been meeting an underage child for the purpose of sexual performance.
Chief, can you tell us where those meetings took place, or is
No,
that?
sir, I can't.
You mentioned that some of these men had previously had contact with others. Does that mean that there could be more unidentified victims out there still?
The question was, through the interviews subsequent to the arrest, we've learned that they were also involved in sexual assault and or indecency with a child, some of them. So could there be more victims? Absolutely. So this investigation is very early. The arrests have occurred, but the reality is DPS-CID and our cybercrimes unit have a phenomenal amount of work ahead in the weeks to come to make sure of that exact issue. All right, well, please market the meeting. Again, it's Thursday, August 8th, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Southern Hills Church of Christ, located at 3666 Buffalo Gap Road. APD and DPS will be there, and we can help our citizens better understand how this is occurring and ultimately protect our children. Casey, do you have anything else? All right, thank you.